Hey ninjas, Asian Invasion here, and welcome back to another episode of New on Steam. Today we are playing Citizen Sleeper. This is a tabletop RPG. That's all I really know about it. I've never played a tabletop RPG before. Happens to be my also third attempt in trying to stream this game. I've been having trouble with my ISP for the past couple days. I did get about 40 minutes into the game, and we're just going to restart because the video was kind of unwatchable, especially for editing for my YouTube. There is a lot of dialogue, and I'm not the best reader, so I appreciate if you get through the video. Like I said, there is tons of dialogue in this that I gotta read out. So the first thing to note is there is no settings menu from the main menu. So if you need to adjust any options, then you actually have to get into the game. So let's go ahead and hop right in. I'm going to try to do a full playthrough. We shall see. This is a relatively short game. It should be around 7 hours. I'm not sure if it'll be longer because of my reading. But I have a huge backlog of video games I need to knock out before a certain date. So we shall see. So we're going to go ahead and create another game, and I'm going to read out the character classes for you. So we have a machinist. A machinist repairs and modifies automated systems used in industrial resource extraction. Sleepers assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. You get a perk, efficient extractor, chance to gain random scrap item on engineer actions. Then next class is operator. An operator works with drones and high-precision remote machines to perform complex tasks from a distance. Sleepers assigned to operator work usually cerebral and precise people. Perk, transfer intercept. Chance to gain cryo on interface actions. And the last one is extractor. Extractors work on resource extraction, often in hard vacuum environments. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. Perk, photosynthetic skin. Sunbathe, dice action, allows energy recovery at home. So now we get the skills. Let's go all the way back to the machinist. So we have engineer, works with machines and physical tools. Interface, works with digital interfaces. Endure, uses strength of will. Intuit, approach problems with awareness. Engage, approach problem head on. So engineer has +1, the machinist has +1 engineer and -1 engage. The operator has +1 interface, -1 endure. And the extractor has +1 endure, -1 intuit. We are going to choose the operator. Cryo, like I said, I got about 40 minutes in the game, so I have a little idea of what this game is about. And cryo is your currency, so I like being rich. I think currency is going to go far in this game. I'm not exactly 100% sure just yet, but we shall see. So I'm going to select perk just for this perk, the cryo perk. And my character works well with drones. I'm usually a pet class type of player, so we'll see if that comes into play. So let's go ahead and start game. The first thing you become aware of on waking is the disconnect, the delay between thinking and feeling, between wanting to act and acting. Minor, almost imperceptible, but always present. Let's turn down the audio slightly. So here's the options menu. We'll turn it down to 3. And this is literally all the options you get. It's not really a high graphic intensive game, so a lot of computers should be able to run it just fine. So let's continue. It's at its worst when waking, when yourself has spent many dark hours recalling what it felt like to be real, to be a person, to be in a body that was indisputably yours. So we can think of that body or forget that body. So let's go ahead and think of the body. A leap in a cold lake on a hot day, the sting of blood welling from a fresh wound, the friction of a fingertip. All of a sudden the memories are closer than you thought, blurring as you approach, until you can't tell one from another. cold slips in, behind and around you, and the sensations fade out of reach. Perhaps you should be thankful of the dulled nature of this new body, given your current circumstances. The walls of the container feel immediately present, cold, hard, and at your back and face, cramping your limbs. You resist desires to stretch, knowing that claustrophobia comes next, and retreat a little from your central nervous system. It isn't painful, not like you used to know pain at least. In emergency mode, pain is a message delivered with efficiency and ease, a reminder that harm is imminent. There is no insistent throb, no trembling nerves, just a warning delivered with the banal quality of a digital notification. Right now, there are thousands of them. So remember the plan or remember the others? Let's go ahead and remember the plan. You mostly remember that it wasn't a good plan, but then your options were limited. And once you got the itch to get out, by any means possible, it was either that plan or something much worse. It was at least simple. Collapse the shaft, drift away in chaos, slip in the cargo processing, seal yourselves into containers, then just hope the freighter left before you were missed. Some were lost in the shaft, others never found the meeting point. Only a few made it to the containers, but the freighter, as far as you know, left. That feels like enough to know that you might no longer be on that grim and heartless rock. Even if in the airless hold of a freighter, you might freeze solid long before you reach any destination. Wait for the cold, try to rest. Try to rest. But you are restless. It has been a long time since you left. Surely weeks, maybe months. You are dully aware of the damage to your legs, your right arm. You have been reserving energy as much as possible, but even then, your body has shut many of its systems down to protect you. You have spent much of that time asleep, knowing that anything else would be impossible to endure. You feel the weight of that impossibility begin to gather. It is time to sleep again, to nudge this false body into inducing delta waves in your emulated mind, and once again recoil into a dream of when you were once a person. Go ahead and rest. Time passes. The cold creeps in further. You feel something. Warmth. Not true warmth, but the indication of its presence. Your joints release from their rigor. Sound too, everywhere, screeching and shimmering so loud that your body ducks your hearing to protect its sensors. Then light, white as the cold. Then softer and softer until in a haze of dirty yellow a figure appears. You are out. So we seem to be in some type of cryo sleep that we just woke up from. I can move up and down the station, but there is nothing to click on except for this. Dragos, Pragmatic Salvager. So we have Dragos, Pragmatic, and Private Salvager. Seems to be a person. Kind of old. Kind of rugged. It has been a few hours since Dragos pulled you from the container. You sit huddled in a corner of his scrapyard, swaddled in the reflective folds of a mylar blanket. You are slowly coming back to consciousness, back to life, and you stare at the ornately curving element of an improvised heater. You are surrounded by an angular, incoherent lumps of ship, some corroded beyond recognition, others still carrying glassy wounds along their edges where a plasma arc sliced them apart. As you trace their shapes with fogged eyes, you hear a voice. So, sleeper, you all thawed yet? Almost, or stay silent. Let's go almost. Never seen one of you come in like this. New frames must have been better perseverance in sub-zero fact. Seen more than a few of you frozen solid to the hull plates or inside outer locks in my time. They weren't so lucky. Dragos comes into focus, shrouded in makeshift tech, his headset with its glinting eyes the mark of a drone operator. On his shoulder, one of his symbiotically linked drones perches, its irising eye locking you with an unflinching stare. Last living sleeper that came through this yard was a while ago. They didn't last long. You struggle to read his expression beneath the tech, but he seems lost in memory for a moment. Or perhaps he is just figuring out what to do with you. I plan to survive. What happened to them? Stay silent. Let's go to I find it survive. You aren't sure if he hears you. I won't ask what led you to do it. To sell yourself to a corporation. And I suppose you know you can't go back. Your old body, that's theirs now. And you are just software. A rogue emulation illegally possessing corporate property. You nod along. You remember biometrically signing the forms. The cold floor on your feet as you padded to the sleeper cells. The promise of a life off-world. But as you do, you get the now familiar sensation that these aren't your memories. These are things you know, but not things you feel. You are no longer that person. You are an offshoot, a copy. What you won't know is what's ahead. At least the last one didn't. There's no easy way to put it. That body of yours has fallen apart. It's the same for any sleeper who makes it out of Essen Arp, wants to protect their property. But if they can't keep a hold of you, well then no one can. You remember that too, or at least rumors of it from the other sleepers. Planned obsolescence. A built-in dependence on the regularly administered supplements that were part of your routine. Stop taking them and your body begins to shut down. Separate from your emulated mind. How long has it been? How long do you have? But for now, sleeper, you are one of the lucky ones. Dragos glances up and away towards the glassy dome of the yard. The eye is the best place you could be right now. The eye or stay silent? The eye. I'm very curious. The station. You'll see soon enough. Dragos impatiently shifts his weight. Look, I've got things to be getting on with. He trails off. There's an old freight container I've been using as storage out in the stacks. We haven't been pulling in much valuable scrap these days, so you're welcome to it. Something wells up inside you. Emotion, fatigue. You shakily get up to your feet. Nod. Alright, you head on up there. You look like you need some rest. And with that, Drago stalks back into the Rex. His drone's already converging on a rusty hulk. Plasma flashes silhouetting his spindly figure as he returns to work. Okay, so we're in the tutorial now. Welcome to Erland's Eye. Life on the Eye runs in cycles, during which you can talk to characters, explore areas of the station, and perform actions. At the end of each cycle, you need to head to your current home and rest. Resting will move time forward on the station. Head to an empty container location to rest and end your cycle now. Select locations by clicking on their icon. So, just like before, this is a tutorial, so we don't really have anywhere else to go. So we will head to this icon right here, which is the empty container, your home for now. So let's go ahead and click on it. And this is where you can end cycle and end the day. All cycles need to end. Rest and prepare for the next one. So let's go ahead and end cycle. I love the aesthetic for this game so far. I'm a sucker for sci-fi. Space operas. You wait curled up in a corner of the container, and you begin slowly assembling the world around you. After all this time, you still find this body, the one you waken now, strange and disjointed. Its message is readable, but somehow wrong. You sit up, pulling the mylar blanket close against the cold. Here you are, on this ruined station, millions of miles from anyone you know. Are you still in the system? Did any of those others make it out? It's impossible to know, after all this, what matters. So we can choose escape, getting answers, or building a life. Let's get getting answers, since I don't remember too much. It all matters. The past is impossible to escape if it remains a blur. What Essen Arp did to you cannot be forgotten. You need a way of understanding all this before you can move on. Where are you? What is this place? What happened to the others? The questions outnumber the answers. You want to change that, but you'll have to learn to survive first. Dragos has left a few comforts in the container. The mylar blanket, the bedroll you slept on, a canister of water, a makeshift electric stove, and some faded sachets of desiccated powder. You thumb the powder stud of the stove and begin to boil the water. The contents of the sachets smell like damp wood, and you sprinkle them into the liquid. As the pungent smell washes over you, images of your restless sleep come back to you. A ring, like the station, but skeletal and ghostly. A web of threads pulling at your skin. A constellation of bright polygonal shapes, like angular suns burning into your mind. There's something unpleasantly visceral about these images, and it is long after you finish drinking that they begin to fade. You tidy away the stove as best as you can, and try to gather enough energy to greet the day. Okay, so tutorial, condition, action dice, and energy. So condition, which is the top orange bar up here. Your condition represents the current state of your artificial body. It depletes one segment each cycle, but you can also be damaged by violence, injury, or lack of food. If your condition bar empties, you will suffer a breakdown. You'll have to figure out how to recover your condition now that you no longer have access to corporate pharmaceuticals that were keeping you alive. Action dice. So right here, you have 6-sided die and slots for your 6-sided die. You can have a max of, looks like 5. At the start of each cycle, you roll your action dice. These dice can be used to perform actions on the station. The number of dice rolled is based on your current condition. The worse your condition, the less dice you have. Once you have used your dice, you cannot take any further action and must rest to recover them, ending the current cycle. So you can only have so many dice per cycle. Once you exhaust them, then that's it for that round. Energy. You also need to eat to survive. This represented by your energy bar, which is this white bar right here. You can refill your energy bar by eating, but first you'll have to find somewhere to get food and currency to buy it. Currency, which is your cryo, that I was mentioning at the beginning of the video. Your energy depletes by 2 segments each cycle. If it becomes empty, you'll be starving and your condition will deplete at a double rate per cycle. That's not good. Okay, so let's go ahead and leave the container. And we got Dragos right here. Dragos has stood in the corridor when you close up the container. He's still wearing his headset, and in the harsh light of the corridor, you realize that it's implanted. A drone sits on his shoulder. Its cache sensor eyes rapidly irising. How are you feeling? Okay or not good? We'll just tough it out and say we're okay. The drone chirps. Good to hear. You notice that beneath the operator's rig, his skin is marked by burns, blotches. I know the container isn't much, but it'll keep you safe. He pauses. So I'm not going to chit-chat too long. You well enough to work? Work? For sure. Yeah, I'm a tough guy, so sure. Alright then, he nods. At the yard, it's simple stuff. We hack these old holes down, sell them off to the shipyards, or the bright market dealer for cryo. Occasionally we pull out some tech, something with a bit more value, but most of what comes is scrap. It's hard to find good hands here, but I figure as a sleeper you'll be used to the manual labor. And obviously I'll slip you a few shits of commission based on what you turn up. Chits? Got it. What's chits? These, he pulls out a handful of small metal bars. Air-walled cryo. Isolated from the market. It's what we used to trade out here. He stuffs them back in his pocket. He shuffles his feet nervously. Look, I wouldn't usually do this. In my opinion, you'd be best suited moving on as quick as you can. And sleepers, well, he trails off. But things being the way that they are for me at the yard, he pauses. I need the help. Why, or happy to? Why? Things are a little tight, that's all. I owe a little crowd to a client here and there. He pauses, thinking of something else to add. Look, just come down to the yard when you're feeling fresher. There's plenty to do. Will do. He nods distractedly and turns and walks away, the drone hopping along ahead of him. See you later, he calls back. Looks like it's time to get to work. Okay, so scrolling up and down the ship, we got a couple new locations open up. So we have our empty container, Dragos' yard, and what is this? Low-end gate, passage to law-end. He told us to go to the Dragos' yard, so we're gonna go to the yard first. Tutorial actions, 1 of 2. Okay, so 2 pages. Actions are primarily the way you can interact with the world of Citizen Sleeper. To perform an action, click and drag your chosen action dice to the slot. So, Hull dissection, and manual salvage. That's behind the tutorial, so I'll read that in a minute. Actions reward you with clock progress, energy condition, or items depending on their outcome. There are 3 types of outcomes. Positive, the action goes better than expected. Neutral, the action succeeds. Negative, the action fails. Action dice affect these outcomes as follow. 6 yellow, 100% chance positive. 5, 50% chance positive, 50% chance neutral. 3 and 4. 25% chance positive, 50% chance neutral, 25% chance negative. 1 and 2. 50% chance neutral, 50% chance negative. Okay, so those are the outcomes of the die. Actions display information about their type, risk level, and the skill and modifiers that will apply to that action. 1. Type. Either critical or repeatable critical actions can only be performed once. Risk. Either safe, risky, or danger. Safe. No loss of condition, energy, or cryo. Risky. Negative outcome means cryo or energy loss. Danger. Negative outcome means condition loss. Neutral outcome can mean cryo or energy loss. Okay, so those are the 3, as you can tell right here on these examples. We have a risky and a safe, so that's just where it coincides. Skill. The skill that this action requires. Either engineer, interface, endure, intuit, or engage. Modifier. Either -1, 0, +1, or +2. This is added to the action dice when slotted and improves in its value. Some actions require +1 to perform. Okay, continue. So we have our die up here. Our condition seems to be about 75%, maybe a little less, and we are hungry. So these right here are the actions that we can use to add to a progress meter down here. So these are kind of like quests. So hull dissection. Even the rustiest hull can hide valuable components and materials. Extracting them meaning cutting them carefully and skillfully. Manual salvage. It's going to take some time to sort out and cut your way through the towers of the salvage, but you are no stranger to hard labor. Okay, a debt called in. So these are kind of our quests, and this one looks repeatable right here with that repeatable arrow, and this is seems to be kind of like a main quest. So a debt called in. Dragos is tied up in something ugly, and if he misses a payment or 2, things could get nasty. Back in business. Every salvager knows that they're always one lucky haul away from their next payday. So this one is risky. Let us put our highest dice in it. And this is how you roll and complete actions. You put your die in these slots. So 50% positive, 50% neutral. Start action. So it's working. Tutorial. Actions often progress clocks. Clocks are displayed below the actions that fill them, and they track your actions and how they affect the world. Filling a clock means something good or bad is about to happen. Some clocks, such as one tracking Dragos' death, are cycle clocks. These clocks tick themselves once each cycle and can complete without player input. Any active cycle clocks will be displayed on the icon for that location. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue with this. So we're going to put it in hull dissection again. It's working. Tutorial. Drives and navigation. 1 of 2. In Citizen Sleeper, you will unlock drives as you discover more about yourself and the world. Drives guide you in pursuing specific objectives, depending on which path you wish to take. You can track drives, and any track drive will place a yellow marker on locations that will help you pursue your goal. Access your drive menu via the arrow button at the top left-hand corner of the screen. Drives and navigations. 2 of 2. You are now free to explore Erlin's Eye and make a life for yourself here. Try tracking a drive to help you survive. Look for food to keep your energy up and a way to recover your condition. Build clocks to progress stories and find new opportunities. Remember to end cycle at your home when you are out of dice. And you can use the mouse wheel WS to scroll along the station and rotate the view with A and D. Okay, let's continue. So, I got some cryo for this, so I got 30 cryo. This is my money down here. So, I only got one. These are pretty crap rolls. I have 2 1s. Let's go ahead and put it over here in the safe quest. 50% neutral from 50% negative. Let's see what this does. Back in business, +1 cryo. Okay, we're just going to use all our dice. I don't really see anything too negative that happened. Maybe since this is kind of like the tutorial, the entrance, there is no negative. So let's go ahead and work. And I'm starting to build some cryo. I'm out of dice, so let's go ahead and leave.